What's going on? We're live on Facebook now on the Game Changer Sports Network. This is Talk Interference Sports. I'm Nick.
I'm Eric.
And we are partnered with the Game Changer Sports Network. We go live on their Facebook. If you are watching us here on Game Changer Sports Network, check us out on Facebook, Talk Interference Sports. Go find us on YouTube, like and subscribe. Go find the other place that we're working with, Kids Out Connection. Go check that out. And all of the other guys that work with the Kids Out Connection as well. Go check them out. Jeff's Basement, Jeff's Kitchen, Comedy and Kidsap, Rockcast, all that stuff. So check it out. If you're in the Everett area, go to Tabby's Coffee. Tell them Talk Interference Sports sent you. They'll treat you nicely. They'll treat you nicely either way, but they'll treat you even better if you're a Talk Interference Sports fan.
They'll hold the spit.
All right, man. So today...
Sorry.
So today we're going to...
I didn't mean it.
We're going to be finishing up the quarterback conversations that we had the week prior because we missed you guys last week. Life happens.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Had to go make money.
So get over it. We're here now.
Exactly.
All right. So first of all, let's start out by talking about some of the news that happened while we were gone, which really wasn't that much. But, I mean, anyway, today on this date, sports history, on July 17th, in 1990, the Minnesota Twins became the first team to turn 2 triple plays in a game, but lost still to the Boston Red Sox 1-0. So, Boston Red Sox still got the win, but gave up 2 triple plays. Impressive stuff.
Yeah.
As well as the U.S. women's national soccer team ended up winning 2-0 against the Netherlands to win the World Cup. I mean, were you expecting anything different from these girls? They were out there playing their hearts out. They were going to win it. Like, everybody could see it. They're the better soccer team than everybody else out there. So, congratulations to them.
Yeah.
Yep, they did good. And I don't really got too much else to say about that.
Nope. Okay, Forrest Gump.
Russell Westbrook was traded to the Rockets for Chris Paul. So
that's a thing that happened.
I like that.
Sure.
Dude, anytime anything like that even remotely happens to Oklahoma City, I'm a big fan. Like, if Russell Westbrook's demanding a trade, point. If Russell Westbrook is demanding a trade, good. Get him out of there. Get any player that does anything good on there, and let them realize that the NBA messed up hardcore by stealing this basketball team from Seattle.
That's true.
So I'm happy about it. I mean, I've never really been a big Russell Westbrook fan because he played the entire time for the Thunder but was drafted by the Sonics. But, it is what it is. So, burn in hell, Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh, man.
I don't even care, bro. I got that on my skin, bro.
Sorry, my mind went to a completely different event and...
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't.
Anyway,
I wasn't going
moving
there.
on very quickly.
I wasn't going there.
I know you weren't, but that's just the first thing that popped into my head. It's like, oh shit, no.
All right, so as well as all of that news, Ron Francis, who is he's a Hall of Famer in NHL.
Yeah, he played for the Bruins and the
Penguins.
The Penguins, yeah.
The Penguins and the Hartford Whalers.
Yeah, Whalers. Yep. I got all of those wrong.
He's a Hall of Famer and is second all-time in assists to Wayne Gretzky. He was a GM for the Carolina Hurricanes during their inaugural season when they moved from Hartford over to Carolina. So he was already a GM. But Ron Francis has been named the Seattle unnamed NHL hockey team GM
For 5 years.
5 years. So I'm assuming the 3 years that they have are for them to be competitive, and then 2 years is kind of the leniency where they'll start looking to, if things aren't clicking, maybe fire people, because firing in the
Well,
NHL is
2 years away from.
yeah.
So I think he's good. What I heard was that he's gonna start and then get the coaching staff, and that's what he's going to be doing for the first 2 years, and then 3 years of play.
So
what
the contract is even during the seasons that.
Yeah, because they got to build a coaching staff and do all that kind of stuff.
All right.
So
I didn't know that. That's why I said I'm assuming. So.
That's what I heard on the radio this morning.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's necessarily true.
I don't know. Who knows?
I'm sure
you know.
I know.
You do.
What I said was right.
So, other than the Ron Francis, who's he's got a nice resume. I mean, and from what I'm reading, Todd Delwicki was the one that reached out to him, and Todd Delwicki's also the guy who's responsible for John Schneider and Pete Carroll linking up. I just want to see what Josh Rosen can do this year. Look at those two scrubs. Man, come on, man. Calling us scrubs. I don't like it.
What, Dennis?
I thought you were our boy.
Thought we were friends, Dennis. Internet friends.
So Todd Delwicki's the one that linked up the connection for Ron Francis to be the GM for the unnamed NHL hockey team in Seattle. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if you would call it successful when he was a GM. From what I was reading, he made the playoffs, or he got the team to the playoffs twice.
I thought what I heard was that he made it to the playoffs. Well, his team made it to the playoffs, but he had been let go by the time they made it to the playoffs.
Okay. I thought the team under his tenure was.
They might have. I don't know. Like I said, I only caught the tail end of the conversation, but
I didn't even hear this conversation, so I don't know. But
are you listening to 710 at 5:30 in the morning?
No.
I am.
So all I'm saying is I have faith in this because Todd Delwicki has his hand in it. I feel Ron Francis, I mean, as decorated as he is as a player, should turn over maybe a little bit as a GM.
It doesn't necessarily translate to a coach or a GM.
Right, but I mean, at least you have the knowledge of.
I wouldn't hire Michael Vick as my GM.
That's very true. All right, so let's talk about these comments are off the chain, bro.
Man. Anywho's.
Let's get into our quarterback talk.
Sure.
Let's just get into it, man.
And hack at it, boys. I like reading it.
Yeah. So last week, or the week prior, because we weren't on last week, we talked about greatest of all time quarterbacks from 1980s to current. So this week we will be talking about quarterbacks going into the regular season next year.
Correct.
Is there anything that you want to specify about what you wrote down before?
What? Yeah, okay. Well, it makes me sound like a special kid. I wrote it in crayon. No, when we were talking about this, I took it a little differently, and it'll be abundantly obvious once we start. I was laboring under the assumption that we all know, Tom Brady is going to be good. Barring injury, all that stuff, whatever. Tom Brady's going to be good. Patrick Mahomes is going to have another good year. Russell Wilson's going to have another good year. So is Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, whoever. So
Okay.
I went for more of a guys that I thought had a fun to watch season in 2018. And do I think they're necessarily going to win a Super Bowl next year? No, but are quarterbacks to watch, I guess, is more the list I made.
Okay. So do you just want to bounce back and forth between this? Because I did the top 5 quarterbacks that I thought,
we
were
can either
the best going
and,
into it.
We can either bounce back and forth, or
so we have 2 different lists.
Yeah, basically, entirely.
Yeah.
Or I can do. Yeah, let's just bounce back and forth.
Let's do one and then do the other, and then we can both just discuss dropping. Like, so I could be like, the reason why I put this person at this spot is because of this, 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 and this, and then we can discuss it. And then once my list is over, we can go to yours, or vice versa.
Okay. Well, you have more, so let's work through yours first.
Okay. All right. So I went number 5, Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger would be the number 5 quarterback that I would think is going to have a good year going into next season. Last year he had 16 starts with a 9-6-1 record. His pass completion percentage was 67%, which is pretty good. He led the league in yards with 5,129, even though the wide receiver core and the running back core, everybody was having, there was so much drama in the Steelers, organization last year. He still managed to pull off a leaguing stat. So that's why I'm giving him some kudos here. Another negative that he led the league in was 16 interceptions, which is one of the reasons why I put him at 5 and possibly not even on the list. But he threw 7.6 yards per attempt, and he threw 34 touchdowns last year, which is pretty decent. His long was 97. He got sacked 24 times, resulting in 166 yards, 2 fourth-quarter comebacks, 3 game-winning drives. And game-winning drives, when I speak of this, I'm specifically saying he was the quarterback to score the last touchdown in the game to either take the lead or maybe give them one more score to give them the win. He had 98 rushing yards, but Ben Roethlisberger doesn't really run. But I have running quarterbacks in here, so that's why I put that stat in there. His longest yardage that he gained from a run was 18, and he had 3 rushing touchdowns, which was pretty impressive as well. For Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, and Ben Roethlisberger running 18 yards.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
As a team, the Steelers did not do so well. However, that does not mean that Big Ben did not do well himself. Big Ben led the league in yards. He isn't, however, higher on my list on account of him leading the league in another stat, which was interceptions. He had the second highest pass completion percentage on my list, and that's why he landed 5th on the list. In week 2, in a 42-37 loss against the Kansas City Chiefs, Ben Roethlisberger threw for 452 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he also had a rushing touchdown. He became the 3rd player since 1950 with at least 400 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns with a rushing touchdown in the same game. In week 3, Roethlisberger completed 79% of his passes for 353 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 30-27 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, earning him Offensive Player of the Week. In week 10 against Carolina on Thursday Night Football, Roethlisberger had more touchdowns than incompletions. He had 22 of 25 passes for 328 yards and 5 touchdowns in an NFL record 4th game with a perfect quarterback rating. His performance in Week 10 earned him AFC Offensive Player of the Week. Roethlisberger led the league in passing 5,129 yards for the second time in his career. He also led the league in completions, attempts, and interceptions. His 5,129 passing yards and 34 touchdowns shattered the Steelers' single-season records. However, the Steelers missed the playoffs for the first time since 2013, finishing second in the AFC North. With Bell and Brown as distractions, and they're gone being next year, look for Big Ben to have just as well, if not maybe a little bit less of a season. What are your thoughts on Ben Roethlisberger next season?
Man, I've always hated Ben Roethlisberger for the obvious reason, but because he beat the Seahawks.
Yeah.
But I totally agree. Ben Roethlisberger has been a good quarterback.
Yeah, sorry.
He will continue to be another good quarterback, and I don't see any reason why he would be bad next year. And I think
just keep going.
And I think with Bell and
Antonio Brown
being gone, that's just going to help the Steelers in general.
Need to hang out with you guys before I move to Scotland. Yeah, man. I don't know when you're doing that. I saw that you were moving. You can always hit us up and we can plan something.
Yeah.
We can get you on the show. But, so I'm putting Ben Roethlisberger on my 5 slot. I don't know how you feel about that.
I like it.
I feel like the numbers he put up last season compel me to believe that without the distractions of last year, that this year will be much better for him. So that's where I'm at with that.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that was much of a distraction. I mean, obviously you see what he does.
I think it was
just looking at what he can do. I mean, I don't think when you get to the point in your career when you're like Ben Roethlisberger or Tom Brady or Drew Brees, you're like, I have a job to do. I'm going to go out there and do it. If everyone else is going to be screwing around and doing all this other shit, I don't care. I'm going to do it.
I'm more so when I say distractions, not so much as for Ben Roethlisberger, because you would think after as much time as he spent in the league that he would be poised and focused on his goal. But you got young guys like Juju Smith-Schuster on the team and running back James Conner, and that defense was pretty young as well. I feel like most of the veterans who were on the team that had been playing for the last couple seasons have vacated due to injury or being traded. So it's a new look for the Steelers last year, and
Sure.
They had a lot of young guys. So
my
all
point,
of this distractions, I meant as a team collectively, because clearly football is a team game. The distractions can lead on to maybe not Ben Roethlisberger, but maybe Juju or James Conner or.
Well, if he led the league in yards, obviously they're doing something right, because they can't be. If they're so distracted they can't catch the ball, then that's going to reflect on Roethlisberger as well.
That's a very good point.
So, and that would also lead me to believe that he has a lot of, and he should, a lot of respect in that locker room. And I don't know, but it will be exciting to see, without all that other crap going on, what the Steelers can do.
I agree with that. After I read all of that information that I spewed out, you should read your top 5 or your number 5.
My number 5?
Yeah.
My number 5 is Nick Foles.
Okay.
I put Nick Foles in there because all last season I was, berating the Eagles for how do you have a quarterback that stepped in, took you to the playoffs, and then won you a Super Bowl, and you're like, well, we just can't wait for the other guy to get back. That was a dumb move for them. And now that Nick Foles has a new team, I'm excited to see what he can do. So last year he had 141 completions out of 195 attempts. 72.5 completion percentage. He threw for 1,413 yards, 7.2 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And in the postseason, he threw for 43 completions, 71 attempts. That's a 60.6% completion percentage. He threw for 467 yards, and that's 6.6 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Quarterback rating, but no one actually gives a shit about that.
Quarterback rating? Yeah.
Well, I didn't write it down for any of my other ones, so ignore that.
Look, I didn't write down the quarterback rating just because I feel like me personally, I don't know enough about the math that goes into giving you a quarterback rating
to really know what it means.
They have a formula where they add a bunch of the stats up.
I know what it means, but it doesn't mean anything to me because I don't know exactly how to do it myself. So
that's my thought process on it.
When someone says, "Oh, they have a negative 100 quarterback rating," like, well, that's bad. It's negative, but
I'm with you there. I'm on the same page.
I don't care.
So what is your reasoning on throwing Nick Foles on?
So my reasoning for throwing Nick Foles on there is because I think my gut feeling is that we're not seeing the same Nick Foles that we saw a little bit earlier in his career where he almost quit playing football. I think he has just a touch more confidence now, and everyone's seen. Granted, yeah, I mean, with a good offensive line and all this, that, and the other thing, but he has the talent to do it. I'm just excited to see Nick Foles on our new team and maybe giving a little bit more of a chance.
This article that I'm reading is from sportingnews.com, and they have him ranked 24, which would be for my list. It says, Foles had success in Philadelphia, but it's a different story elsewhere in his 7-year career. There are some favorable elements for him in Jacksonville, but many of them are rooted in the running game and defense. Foles is bound to return to his sneaky nature as a downfield passer.
Streaky.
Okay, sorry. So I feel that...
I mean, if you don't have anyone to throw the ball to, yes.
I don't think that he doesn't have anybody to throw the ball to so much as not as many weapons as he did on the Philadelphia Eagles. So this is where we're going to actually see how good Nick Foles is in a system that's meant in a different aspect with less weapons. Because from what I'm gathering from the Eagles is they have a pretty decent passing system, and they have good weapons all around the field, running back, wide receiver, tight end. So the Eagles are, I wouldn't say stacked, but above average, definitely like top tier teams.
Right. And he's going to a more bottom of the barrel team.
Right. So this is a great chance for Nick Foles to, thrive. And I like that you put him on your list.
I mean, I think this is really throwing this guy into the deep end, and it's sink or swim time for him.
I think
he's either going to prove people right or he's going to shut them up.
I think you can get,
and I'm really excited to see which one it is.
I think you can get Nick Foles in Jacksonville with one bad season and be all right. You get him in 2 bad seasons, maybe we start looking at different quarterback options. That's my thought process in there. There's a lot of tweaking when it comes to we have a new quarterback.
Yeah, and you you decide whether that's somebody you can build around or want to build around.
Because, good God, Blake Bortles is not a good quarterback. Like, the fact
Well,
that
he's not on my list.
so, Nick Foles is definitely an upgrade from Blake Bortles.
Absolutely.
So
I didn't put him on the list just because he's an upgrade from
I don't think
Blake
he's going to be
Bortles.
playing next season.
He might not be playing high school football next season.
God, sorry, Blake.
I'm not.
He just had a bad season, bad career, man.
Yeah, it was
Bad career, man.
way more than a bad season. But
Blake Bortles, man, I feel for him. Was it because the Jacksonville Jaguars were as
no,
no?
I don't
Because they
think
made
so.
the playoffs.
They made the playoffs
season
the year
prior.
before.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Was Blake Bortles their quarterback that year too? I think he was.
I can't remember.
That's 2017, right? 2017
Yeah, that would be the year before last. So.
Jaguars.
You're gonna come with cars.
QB. Yeah, it was Blake Bortles. Yep. Look at that. Look at that list of quarterbacks that have been on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm
And
sorry,
then-
Jacksonville.
And then look at
Good
Nick
God.
Foles. You guys have definitely moved up in the world.
Yeah, you got the best quarterback you ever had,
Yeah.
for
Blake
sure.
Bortles, Chad Henne, Ryan Nissib, and Brandon Allen. Jeez, bro.
That's a
That's a rough
beating.
quarter. Yo, that's terrible, man. Holy war. Are we talking about tip in AFC or the entire NFL? What about Kashmir? What are you guys talking about? I don't know what you guys are
They're
talking
talking about ISIS or Islam or
Oh.
some damn thing in there. I don't know.
Jeez, man. All right, you guys have your
Yeah.
chat there.
You guys talk. We'll do our thing.
Oh boy! All right, so Ben Roethlisberger was on my 5. I'll be moving on to my 4, which is going to trigger some people, but I got Tom Brady at 4. And a lot of the reason why I put Tom Brady 4 is because Tom Brady, Tom Brady's going to be good. Tom Brady's going to be good no matter what, but, I mean, you got Julian Edelman, which is a great wide receiver, but no more Gronk. Gronk's been missing in action on and off throughout the seasons, but when he's there, you feel Gronk's presence.
For sure.
Tom Brady won the Super Bowl last year, 16 starts, 11-5 record, 65.8 pass completion percentage, 4,355 yards with a 7.6 yards per attempt. They threw 29 touchdowns with 11 interceptions. Tom Brady was sacked 21 times, resulting in 147 yards. This is why I threw Tom Brady in my 4 slot, because there was 1 fourth quarter comeback and 2 game-winning drives. His longest pass completed was 63 yards, 10 yards longest in his rushing with 2 rushing touchdowns. The end of the stats were not so impressive for me, but Tom Brady won another championship, but that doesn't mean his numbers were the best. His effectiveness allows him to be on the list, not his championships. Of the 5 selected, he had the second lowest in PCP pass completed percentage and the 3rd most interceptions. And throwing only 29 touchdowns is on the low side of Tom Brady's touchdowns thrown. He also was the lowest in the 5 that I selected in the longest completed pass. Tom Brady started his 19th professional season with 227 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception in a 27-20 victory over the Houston Texans in the season opener. In a 38-24 victory over the Colts, he had a 341 passing day with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions to go with a rushing touchdown. Tom Brady's 500th career touchdown pass went to Josh Gordon, who became the NFL record's 71st different player to catch a touchdown from Tom Brady. In Week 13, Tom Brady reached 1,000 career rushing yards in a 24-10 victory over the Minnesota Vikings, becoming the oldest player to reach that mark since 1970. In Week 15, Tom Brady reached 70,000 passing yards, becoming only the fourth quarterback in NFL history to accomplish the feat, and only the second player ever after Brett Favre had over 70,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards in a career. So, Tom Brady's low-end touchdowns, Tom Brady's low-end pass completion percentage slapped him lower on my list. And 11 interceptions is higher on my list of the guys that I added into my list. So that's why Tom Brady's 4. Sorry, guys. Who's on your 4 slot? Let's talk about Tom Brady real quick, though.
All right,
Let's talk about Tom Brady real quick.
Why not?
How do you feel about Tom Brady being so low on my top 5?
You know, it actually makes sense. I mean, you're just looking at the Super Bowl. Obviously, Tom Brady, the quarterback, had an impact, but that was it seemed like much more of a team win this time.
I feel like that was much more of a defensive win.
Definitely.
But yeah, go ahead.
But he didn't have a 35-point deficit that he had to overcome.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So it seemed like less work was on Tom Brady's shoulders, and it was more. And every time they trade for somebody, it seemed like they were getting, an all-pro caliber guy from every team. Whether they wanted to, just get away from the guy like the Browns did, because they're like, oh, well, you can't stay sober. But
Josh Gordon had an impact while he was playing.
But he did, yeah,
for sure.
I'm not taking anything away from Josh Gordon,
or
why the Patriots would want him on their team. I would too. And everything you said, Tom, like I said, I know Tom Brady's going to have a good season.
Tom Brady always has a great season.
Ben Roethlisberger going to have a good season. Patrick Mahomes going to have a good season. And unless you get some weird end or middle or beginning of the year decline, which happens.
Well, and that's part of the reason. That's part of the reason why I put these rankings the way that I did, so that I could point out why this guy's here, this guy's here, this guy's here, because there's so many different feats and attributes that should be included into why this guy's the greatest of all time, or this guy's going into next season. And I just feel like out of all of Tom Brady's career, he's going to have a good season next year. But last year he didn't, numbers-wise, didn't have as good of a season as he did. I mean, he won the Super Bowl, cool, but like as a quarterback performance, his numbers, it wasn't his strongest.
No, I respect that.
Tell me your 4.
All right, my 4th is Mitch Trubisky.
Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
Okay. He had an impressive season last year.
It was pretty
impressive.
good.
Yeah, the Bears they turned it around.
I think he's another one that kind of got buried by some
other people's stats that were eyebrow raising.
Yeah, and also just kind of like the Bears doing well. Oh, the Bears. Well,
yeah.
I think that was kind of why he kind of
fell off.
Yeah, he didn't really like slip under the radar because everyone was like, "Oh shit, Mitch Trubisky."
Yeah,
hey,
he had a good season. And if you don't think so, go back and look at the numbers.
Yeah, so
he's get to the numbers.
He threw for 3,223 yards, 289 completions out of 434 attempts, which is
666.
It's a 66.6 completion percentage. 7.4 yards per attempt. he threw 24 touchdowns and 12 interceptions in the regular season. In the postseason, he threw 26 completions out of 43 attempts, dropping down to a 60.5 completion percentage. 303 yards, which is only 7 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions.
7 yards per attempt isn't like that great. I guess it's not terrible.
I mean, it's not bad, but
Not bad.
I mean, you string 2 of those together.
That's a first down.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're moving down the field.
Yeah. Okay. I take back my previous statement.
I mean, it's not like, oh, dang, that's amazing. But
24 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, man. Wow. So that was like a 50-50.
50-50 split.
Wow. Okay.
That's kind of why you got there on my number 4. I didn't write down the starts. Where Nick Foles had a higher, that percentage would be higher.
Because Nick Foles didn't play
start the
entire
whole season.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, I just think that he's one of those guys that you're going to want to keep your eye on, and he's going to have, hopefully, a very entertaining 2019.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky, I feel, really kind of turned around how the Bears were doing. And if it wasn't Mitch Trubisky, it was that defense. And the Bears should be excelling in their division come next season.
So.
I think the Bears are going to start being a force to be reckoned with again.
And that defense is still stout.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, Khalil Mack, come on, dude. You can't argue with that. The dude, game 1, was making a difference.
Oh, unfortunately, absolutely.
So let's not take away from the fact that it's the Bears, and let's actually talk about how well Mitch Trubisky did, because 24 touchdowns isn't bad. I'm not a fan of the 12 interceptions. 12 interceptions is high for me.
Yeah, but that is high.
I feel he's a younger quarterback still, isn't he? I think this is his second or third season.
Something like that.
Mitch.
And that's why he got my number 4 spot, because he's the one that he played
second season.
He played a whole season and had 12 interceptions.
Right.
So, hired Nick Foles, but Nick Foles didn't play a full season. Trubisky did.
The season prior, he played 12 games as opposed to 14 in this season, and he had 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. So he's definitely, within playing 2 extra games, man. I mean, he's definitely bumping up the stats, man. This guy's evolving.
Percentage. I mean, very few people are gonna just walk on like Russell Wilson and be like,
win that quarterback spot.
Yeah, just win the quarterback spot, but then also be competitive.
Yeah, most definitely.
And be like, oh, hey, I don't care that, in my first 2 years, I've beaten everybody except for one active player that has a Super Bowl win.
Right. Mitch Trubisky, within playing 2 extra games than he did last year or the season prior in 17, he played 2 games less in 17 than he did in 18. And he's basically thrown twice as many passes and added almost 10% to his pass completion with over 1,000 extra yards. His average went up by almost 10, or by almost 1, excuse me. and he threw 6 times more touchdowns. His interceptions went up increasingly, but even his rushing went up. Everything went up
really
last year.
Didn't though, because that was. Oh wait, no.
Literally, all of his stats went up the next year, so he's improving.
I just saw 7 and 7. 50%.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. So that's a great call, man. I like that, Mr. Trubisky.
Yeah, but your touchdowns to interceptions went from 1-1 to 2-1.
It's still an improvement.
So,
literally everything he did was better than he did last year, and it's not like he didn't play. He only played quite a bit. And he didn't. He only played 2 less games. So good job, Mitch. I like that. Good. I'm surprised he's not higher on your list. So I'm excited to see who else is higher on your list. We'll go with my 3, and my 3 is going to be Russell Wilson.
Nice.
Russell Wilson is 3. I have him at 16 starts with a 10-6 record, with 65 and 0.6 pass completion percentage, with 3,448 yards, 8.1 yards per attempt. 8.1 yards per attempt is pretty good. 35 touchdowns to his 7 interceptions. 66 yards is his longest completion, with 51 sacks, resulting in 355 yards. 2 fourth-quarter comebacks, 4 game-winning drives, 376 rushing yards, 0 rushing touchdowns. 40 yards was his longest rush. Call me biased. I don't really care. Russell Wilson came out and put up decent numbers in what people were calling a rebuild year, and even made the playoffs with a new offensive coordinator and a completely reshaped team. He is the 2nd lowest in interceptions on my list. His yards per attempt is the 3rd lowest on my list, but better than the previous quarterbacks I mentioned on my list. He had 35 touchdowns, which is the 2nd highest on my list, finishing tied for 3rd in the league behind MVP season from Pat Mahomes, and Andrew Luck having one hell of a comeback season. Though his passing yards were low, the Seahawks are a very run-heavy team who led the league in yards and second in attempts. I gave Russ such a high ranking because of his 4th-quarter comeback drives and his 4th-quarter comeback wins, which was 2nd on my list. His willingness to pull out the clutch win and keeping his numbers competing with the best makes him 3rd on my list. In weeks 5 through 8 against Los Angeles Rams, Oakland Raiders, the Oakland Raiders, and Detroit Lions, he had 3 consecutive games with 3 passing touchdowns. In week 13 against the 49ers, he had 185 passing yards and 4 touchdowns in a 43-16 victory. In week 16, the Seahawks faced against the top-seeded Kansas City Chiefs on NBC Sunday Night Football. Wilson outdueled the season's eventual MVP and Patrick Mahomes to lead the Seahawks to a 38-31 victory. It's not only ensured another winning season for the Seahawks, but also defied their early expectations for everybody returning to the postseason after 1 year of absence. Wilson finished the season with 35 touchdowns and a 110.9 passer rating, both personal and franchise bests. He also set franchise records with the most quarterback regular season wins at 75 and most touchdowns for the Seahawks at 196. Put Russell Wilson number 3. How do you like that?
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, not just as a Seahawks fan, but he's one of those guys that he gets away from people, both with his arm and his legs. And I liked, as a Seahawks fan, seeing him rely way more on his arm or handing it off this past year. And I'm hoping to see more of that and the Seahawks develop around his
Play style.
but he's developed his play style
Around the Seahawks' scheme.
around the Seahawks' scheme, and I think it's time for them to do the same thing, but also around his getting older. What he could get away with in his first and second year in college, he can't get away with now.
Right.
People have figured that out, and I think that's what makes him a smart quarterback, is because he evolves. Be like, all right, people figure out, I'm going to run.
His adaptation, I get what you're saying. His adaptation from being a rookie quarterback where they were running the option so much. Do you remember when they used to run the option all the time?
Yeah.
I've not seen them line up in an option situation in a while.
No, and I don't know whether that's because
Russell Wilson's getting older.
Yeah, he's not getting old, but
Older.
older, or the fact that you're willing to take that gamble with a rookie.
How many times did Russell Wilson get injured last year and play through the injury? But you could tell he was injured and it stifled some of his play.
Not as many as the
season
prior, but
you can see what I'm saying, though.
Yeah, but also they could line up in an option when he was lined up behind one of the best offensive lines in the NFL.
Well, I don't like comparing all of the running backs that the Seahawks have had post Marshawn Lynch to Marshawn Lynch, but realistically, none of the running backs that they've had since Marshawn Lynch fit the scheme of the Seahawks the years they had Marshawn Lynch to now. So the adaptation has happened, and you can see it.
Well, and you're right. I don't like doing that either. But Marshawn Lynch, his ability to stay healthy for as long as he did and how physical of a runner he was made him very, very unique.
Right.
And not very many people can do that. And that's why the Seahawks have evolved into this, running back committee with Penny and Davis and
Carson. Yep.
I was on the tip of my tongue. I was like, I can see his face.
I would really like to see how well Russell Wilson can thrive. I'm not saying when I say this that I think this running back by committee is terrible. I'm not saying that I think these running backs that the Seahawks have are terrible. But when you have a top-tier running back, like what Marshawn Lynch was, instead of 3 average to above average running backs, if you had, say, a Le'Veon Bell or I'm totally drawing a blank. Other really good running backs. Todd Gurley.
Honestly, I think you'd probably do very well with a Nick Chubb.
Or a Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb would be perfect because of how well the dude catches the ball.
Yeah, I agree. And that would be perfect for Russell Wilson because Marshawn Lynch could also catch the ball.
Yeah.
And that would be perfect for him to be like, no, psych, little dump pass right over the middle.
Yeah, there's been so many times over this running back by committee.
And Nick Chubb could take
a hit. Yeah.
And he could take a hit. He could take a hit, and he can, well, he's a running back, so yeah, he can run like a mother. Dang it, boy.
The fact that if you got a good big running back that can catch the ball as well, better than there's been many times during the last season where I've seen them try to do that dump off thing that they do, but the running back doesn't catch the ball.
Yeah.
And you just get so frustrated because that's just like a wasted down on instead of looking downfield for something else. Because you don't have the quality of a catching running back.
And I think that's going to be,
they used to have.
I think that's going to be something they're really going to miss this year. Now that we're minus Doug Baldwin, you don't have that guy. I mean, you have Tyler Lockett, who, that dude has sticky hands. He can catch the ball. Obviously, he's proved that time and time again. But you don't have that double threat of Tyler Lockett and Doug Baldwin, or Jermaine Kearse, or even a
Golden Tate.
A Golden Tate, definitely a Golden Tate, or even the white dude that went to with the real long hair.
Cole Beasley?
No. He was on the Seahawks.
Drawing a blank.
That is going to bug the crap out of me. I think he went to the Vikings.
I don't know. What season? When did he play for them?
He got traded last season.
Last season. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
He came down he didn't play he wasn't like an every down wide receiver. He just came in occasionally. Anyway, but you don't have
dwell
him
on it too much.
Yeah. Anyway, you don't have him either. So, not that the Seahawks don't have wide receivers.
They got DK Metcalf, who's got a lot of question marks, but I feel like I'm not saying he's going to be a replacement for Doug Baldwin, but I mean, you're not downgrading so much that I'm worried about the wide receiver position.
I don't know, man. I think that, his rookie year, I think eventually he'll be good, but I think there might be some catch up. And having, Doug Baldwin back there, where a guy who can catch a 70-yard pass, I don't know how many times.
Can do that.
I know, but that's one dude instead of two.
Who's the guy? Mike Moore? Is that what his name is?
Yeah, Mike Moore, and then they're gonna get Uncle Will back too. But
I don't know. We'll see. The season's coming. We're close. Rookies just reported for camp today, so we'll find out.
Yeah, let's move on from the Seahawks because we're gonna get bogged down there. It's gonna be a whole.
Let me hear about your number 3.
My number 3 is Baker Mayfield. In 2018, he threw 310 completions at a 486 attempts with a 63.8% completion percentage. Yeah, I was trying to avoid saying percentage twice, but and 3,725 yards and 7.7 yards per completion for 27 touchdowns and 14 interceptions.
I don't like that 14 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit higher than 50%. I mean, comparatively to touchdowns to interceptions. He also didn't necessarily have the tools that he has going into the 2019 season either.
So this is the problem I have with that. Okay. The only problem I have with when people make this statement that now he has Odell Beckham Jr. or what was it, Tyreek Hill?
Mm-hmm.
And Tyreek Hill and all of these other guys, included in the tool set or the toolbox that the Browns have now, is they don't have the cohesion yet. They haven't worked together.
That's very true.
Odell Beckham Jr. may be a phenomenal top-tier, number 1 top-tier wide receiver, but Baker Mayfield has not I personally don't think Baker Mayfield has really proven himself to be that accurate and that clutch of a quarterback for everyone to be thinking that Baker Mayfield is going to be the next bee's knees,
I think that being in his second year,
there's room for improvement.
I think it's going to be exciting to see. I think we're going to see another situation like we did with Mitchell Trubisky, where he's going to improve. And I think being able to throw to a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., he's going to improve the accuracy because he can move around and he can make adjustments to maybe a not such great throw.
Right.
And I think that's the addition to these other people is going to help Baker Mayfield look better.
Okay.
And I think that he's a guy, he wants to win. I mean, none of these quarterbacks want to lose, but
the winning.
Yeah, I mean, just when you listen to him talk, you listen to his interviews, even after a loss, he doesn't go out there and blame other people. He's like, we lost, we tied, it was close. And a lot of times he goes, I'm going to do this different, or I learned this.
Okay.
And that really impressed me all throughout last season. And that's why I have high hopes for Baker Mayfield in 2019.
Okay. I like it. The only thing that I have against Baker Mayfield is the same thing that I have against Pat Mahomes is we just started watching these guys and the decline is, Mitch Trubisky obviously is a good example of how well you can do afterwards, but the numbers that he put up, how much more of a difference are we going to see in the interceptions or in the lower of interceptions or the higher in touchdowns?
Honestly, I was more, out of all the football I watched last year, I was more impressed with a pressured Baker Mayfield than I was with a pressured Phillip Rivers.
Okay. All right. I like it. Okay. I don't 100% agree with you, but I like your opinion. I like that you brought the stats to back it up.
That's just my gut feeling.
Yeah. I like it. I have a problem with putting all my chips on a sophomore year for a quarterback. After as well as guys did as they did the season prior. Yeah, that's just where I'm at.
I totally understand your trepidation there, but man, I think he's going to be a guy to watch, and I think he's going to turn out some interesting football. I didn't write down the Browns' record, but
I think they tied twice, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they only tied once. I think they tied the Steelers.
They were third in the NFC or the AFC North. And
see, they beat the Giants.
Okay. Standings. I want to look at the standings. They're showing me the schedule when I want to look at the standings. 7-8-1.
All right. I mean, so if they had to end up, but see, the problem with just looking at that though,
no, I totally agree with you.
Is how many of those were okay? Take that, the 7-8-1, and then think Seahawks 2014.
I feel it.
How many of those games they ended up winning the Super Bowl, but how many of those games did they just win by a field goal or a touchdown? I mean, there were one-score games. They could have gone either way. And I think with a little bit more experience behind him and a little bit more tools in his basket, Baker Mayfield is going to be a good quarterback to watch in the 2019 season.
Rookie starting quarterback Baker Mayfield threw 27 touchdown passes, breaking the record for most touchdown passes thrown by a rookie quarterback. The previous record was shared by Peyton Manning and Russell Wilson. So both guys ended up having or are continuing to have a pretty decent year or career, excuse me. But
that's pretty good company to share.
I agree. my biggest quarrel, and like I said, is throwing all my chips into one basket after one guy had a great rookie season. I mean, for all we know, Robert Griffin III had a great rookie year and ended up tearing his ACL and never being the same quarterback again.
Well,
I don't wish that upon Baker Mayfield even the remotest.
I think that's why we made both these lists, but all of this is barring injury. I mean, Tom Brady could go out there and break his neck on the first drive of the first season.
Good argument. I like that. That's true.
I mean, it doesn't.
I'm just saying I don't want to put
injury-
all of my chips into a
doesn't-
sophomore season quarterback.
Injury doesn't matter, how long you've been playing.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, Brett Favre can stand up there and be like, well, I don't get hurt because I jump when I'm about to get tackled or whatever.
Right.
And sure, that might help.
I agree.
But it doesn't mean that you're not going to, blow out your knee or whatever, or you're just going to get that weird hit.
Yeah, I feel it.
I mean, how many times have you
I'm not
watched
gonna,
some street fight and some guy my size knocks out a guy your size? Doesn't happen
not gonna
very
s-
often, but it does.
I'm not going to sit here and argue that, hey, injuries can happen. All I'm saying is that the sophomore slump is a thing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it is.
And I want to see you break that before I start saying Patrick Mahomes or Baker Mayfield are top tier quarterbacks.
I agree.
Okay. So let's move on.
Yeah,
We'll go to my 2.
sure.
All right, my 2 is Patrick Mahomes.
Let's see if you can break that sophomore slump
Okay,
first.
check it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Every single person who does these kind of rankings, Patrick Mahomes is number 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not giving him the number 1 because there is no way he's throwing 50 touchdowns again next year. I just don't see it. There's no way Patrick Mahomes is throwing 50 touchdowns next year. Just don't see it. I said
I hope
twice.
he does, man.
He might. I don't know.
He was an impressive quarterback.
Let's look at the numbers. Let's get to the numbers here. Patrick Mahomes had 16 starts, a 12-4 record, 66 pass completion percentage, 5,097 yards with an 8.8 yards per attempt. He threw 50 touchdowns with 12 interceptions. Now, normally the double digit above 10, 10 interceptions is okay for me. When you throw more than 10 interceptions, I start getting a little upset. But if you throw 50 touchdowns, 12 doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He had a long of 89 yards for passing, and he was sacked 26 times, resulting in 171 yards. He had 2 fourth-quarter comebacks and 2 game-winning drives. He had 272 rushing yards with a rushing long of 28 yards. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. So, the dude had a phenomenal season, a great season, an MVP season.
Yeah,
It was stupid crazy what numbers he put up. And I'll always put him 2 because I don't believe that going in the same type of season that his touchdown leading 50 was insane and 12 is a high interception for me. But when you throw 50 touchdowns, you could easily throw 15 and maybe 20, and I would be all right with it. 5,097 yards just behind Big Ben. It's impressive. Impressive isn't even the word to start to describe the level of the season he had. I have him second based on his interception and completion percentage, which really isn't that crazy. But Patrick Mahomes is either 1 or 2 in most of the stats that I looked at. But I want to take a step back and really think about the realistic expectations that we're having for him next season. This is his first season that he had, and the dude went off. He went crazy. He had an insane season. Is his sophomore season really going to be repeatable? Is his rookie season really repeatable for his sophomore season? I don't know. Maybe, possibly. I hope so. Good job, Pat Mahomes. Do it again.
And
But I just don't see it.
he also lost
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
So, and we did see a slump after that.
That's very true. So I'll get into this. In his first game as a Chiefs full-time starting quarterback, Mahomes beat division rival the Los Angeles Chargers by a score of 38-28. In the game, he threw 256 yards and 4 touchdowns with no interceptions, a 127.5 quarterback rating. For the performance, Mahomes was named AFC Offensive Player of the Week. The following week, Mahomes threw for 326 yards, 6 touchdowns, and no interceptions, and had a passer rating of 154.8. After throwing his 5th touchdown in the game, he broke the NFL record for most touchdown passes thrown for a quarterback's first 3 career games. Following his 6th touchdown in the game, he broke the NFL record touchdown passes thrown in the first 2 weeks of an NFL season. For his performance against Pittsburgh, Mahomes won his 2nd consecutive AFC Player of the Week, becoming the first quarterback since Tom Brady in 2011 to start a season with back-to-back Player of the Week awards. Mahomes was named AFC Player of the Month for September in Week 6 against the New England Patriots. He passed for 352 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions in a 43-40 loss on Sunday Night Football. A 30-23 win over the Denver Broncos, Mahomes recorded his 3rd consecutive game with, 4 touchdowns in a game and 2 interceptions in the I got lost here. Mahomes recorded his 3rd consecutive game with 4 passing touchdowns to go along with 303 passing yards and 1 interception. During Monday Night Football against the Rams in Week 11, Mahomes finished with 478 passing yards, were for the most for a single game by any quarterback in 2018. Mahomes became the 2nd quarterback in NFL history, along with Peyton Manning, to throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. He became one of 7 players in NFL history with a 5,000 passing yards in a season. He finished the NFL season. He finished 2nd in the NFL with passing yards, and he finished first. He was the first Chief since Len Dawson since 1966 to lead the league in passing touchdowns. So an impressive season. Like I said, is it repeatable? That's where I'm getting at. I don't know if it's repeatable. I like Pat Mahomes. I have nothing against the guy. I think he's a great quarterback, but I think the hype buildup around him could easily just turn around and be like, whoa, dude, what happened?
Yeah, I'm not sure if
consistency is key for me.
If repeating those exact numbers are going to be doable again.
I'm not saying exact.
Or improving upon, but
if he throws 35 touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions, I'd be happy with it. That's a good season.
That's a great season.
So, how do you feel about Patrick Mahomes being number 2? How do you feel about Patrick Mahomes in general? Moving on to the next season.
Matt, I like Patrick Mahomes. I know I said all throughout our podcast last year, it's like, well, just like you just said, let's see if it's maintainable. And it was for him throughout the season. I think next season is going to be a test, like we mentioned earlier on. He doesn't have Tyreek Hill, and we did see a slump after Tyreek Hill was released from the Chiefs. So
we shall see.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think we're going to see another good year from him. But
you think he's doing back-to-back MVP seasons?
I do not.
I don't either. Okay. All right. Let's move on to your number 2.
My number 2 is Deshaun Watson.
All right.
Deshaun Watson threw for 4,165 yards last season. 345 completions out of 505 attempts with a 68.3 completion percentage and an 8.2 yard per completion average, 26 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
Okay.
And as bad as the Texans were last year, Deshaun Watson was clearly the bright spot there.
Most definitely.
And he had a great 2017 until he got injured. And he didn't, I think he missed 2 games, if I remember right, in the 2018 season. I'm just really excited to see what a guy.
No.
No?
No.
He didn't?
No.
Oh, I thought he missed at least 1.
Nope.
Oh.
He
Well,
played
then,
in
never mind.
7 games in 2017 and started 6 and started 16. So,
All right, well, never mind.
yeah.
But I think Deshaun Watson is going to be, regardless of how the team does, he's going to be a good quarterback to watch.
Yeah, most definitely. I think Deshaun Watson gets a lot of flack for no reason. I think Deshaun Watson is a really good quarterback in a dysfunctional organization.
I agree. I think that if we were talking about these numbers on almost any other team, you wouldn't hear the negative comments that you do about him.
Right. Hey, Joseph, we talked about Trubisky already today.
You did.
Yeah. Go back and check that out. So, yeah, Trubisky. But Deshaun Watson, I like that you put him so high because I always feel like Deshaun Watson is an underrated quarterback who just is in a dysfunctional situation. It's the same way I feel about Matt Stafford and the same way I feel about Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I almost put Matt Stafford on my list too.
Yeah.
But I just didn't have room for him.
Yeah, I feel it. I get it.
But if I had an honorable mention
Matt Stafford
this
would
week,
be on there.
it would definitely be Matt Stafford. Or I could easily replace Nick Foles with Matt Stafford.
Matt Stafford. Yeah. I'm right there with you. I'm right. I like that you put
What really gave the
Deshaun
number,
Watson so high.
yeah, what really gave it to me for him was his yards and his completions, because he actually has 5 more completions than my number 1.
I like it. That's great. The guy that you have as the number 1 didn't even make my list, but he should have. So I like that. That's great. But Deshaun Watson, man, if you plugged him into any other organization, I feel like, we would be talking about him being a top-tier quarterback.
Oh, I mean, even if you plugged him into a place like the Jaguars, the Titans,
I think he's middle of the pack because of the organization.
Yeah, I mean, I still think though, if you plugged him into one of those other teams, I don't think he would get as much flack as he does for being on the Texans and having mediocre people in terms of the NFL to throw to. I mean, how much is his productiveness due to his being elusive?
I don't necessarily think it's because of the elusiveness of Deshaun Watson so much as his quarterback IQ.
Yeah, but I think those two go hand in hand. I mean, not necessarily that you're running out of situations, but you're smart enough to get out of it.
Okay.
Still makes you elusive.
Okay. I like that.
You don't have to be a running quarterback to be elusive. You can just be like, oh crap. Ugh.
Yeah.
But even in that situation, he's still accurate.
Right. Does it help that he has DeAndre Hopkins?
Well, yeah.
If he didn't have DeAndre Hopkins, would his numbers be as high?
No, and I think that's the same thing what I just said about Baker Mayfield. I think next year is going to be better for him because he's going to have Odell Beckham Jr., who's going to be out there being like, oh, wild pitch, or throw, whatever, and catch the ball.
I like it. Okay. I'm into that.
But that's still only one receiver.
Right. I'm totally with it. I'm game for that. So, you want to move on to our number ones?
Let's move on to our number ones.
All right. This is my number one quarterback going into the 2019 season.
Love it.
Drew Brees.
Nice.
Drew Brees had 15 starts with a 13-2 record for the Saints. 74.4 completion percentage. That's so high.
That is super
That's
high.
so high. That's insane. The fact that that's not talked about more is ridiculous.
I totally agree.
Insanity. He threw for 3,992 yards with an 82.2 yards per attempt. So it's not like the guy's dumping the ball off and letting his his running backs, do whatever. Because that doesn't happen. Alvin Kamara is a great running back, but not so much to the point where he's getting 8 yards on a dump off every time he does that.
No.
So that's impressive in itself. Drew Brees threw for 32 touchdowns with 5 interceptions. 5
Damn.
interceptions. That's accuracy, baby. That's great. His longest yards the longest yards that he accumulated on one pass was 72 yards. And he was only sacked 17 times last year, resulting in 121 yards. 6 fourth quarter comebacks, 7 game-winning drives, 31 rushing yards with 22 yards as his longest rush with 4 rushing touchdowns. Guy's complete. All around a great quarterback. Drew slayed the numbers this year. Other than he normally has a higher passing yards, his PCP was the highest on my list. His yards per attempt was second, which is his yards per attempt. That was second, and his touchdowns could have been a little bit higher, but I really enjoyed that he only threw 5 touchdowns. He interceptions, excuse me. He was only sacked 17 times and was only behind Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck had how many times was he sacked? Andrew Luck was
didn't write down sacks.
Andrew Luck was sacked less than Drew Brees too. Sorry, I'm just trying to spit it out real quick. He also had the most fourth quarter comebacks and the most game-winning drives on my list, which is the very high seller for me. I don't understand how that's not a clutch. This is a great quarterback. Fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives, and you lead the league in both of those stats. That's phenomenal. He rushed for the most touchdowns on my list as well. And who the hell knows what would have happened if that call wasn't missed at the NFC Championship game. I won't speculate right now, but they possibly could have won a championship last year. Who knows, man?
Yeah.
Drew Brees is my number one. Really, the 4 rushing touchdowns shows he will score how and when he needs to score. The low 17 sacks shows his O-line was great enough to know and was great, and he knows how to get rid of the ball yet keep at a 74.4 pass completion. So he can get rid of the ball to who can catch it and not just throw it out of bounds. Pass completion percentage while doing it was impressive. Getting sacked, low amounts, throwing the ball to who needs to catch it. Drew Brees was the best quarterback last year, in my opinion. 6 fourth quarter comebacks, 7 game-winning drives shows me he's going to win even when the chips are down. Drew Brees, my number one going into 2018. That's why I have Drew Brees number 1. Drew Brees also threw for more than 400 yards, a record 16th time in his career, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers still won the game in Week 1. Week 3 against the Atlanta Falcons, Brees broke Brett Favre's record for career pass completions a second time in the second quarter with his 6,301st career completion. In that game, a 43-37 overtime Saints victory, Brees threw for 396 yards and 3 touchdowns, and also ran for ran for 2 more scores, including a game-winning overtime touchdown, earning him the NFC Offensive Player of the Week in Week 3. Week 5 on Monday Night Football against the Washington Redskins, Brees broke Peyton Manning's all-time passing yardage record with a 62-yard touchdown pass to Smith late in the second quarter. He went on to complete 26 of 29 passes for 363 yards and 3 touchdowns, earning him NFC Offensive Player of the Year second time in 3 weeks. Following a bye, Brees finally claimed his first career victory against the Baltimore Ravens with a 24-23 win, making him the 3rd quarterback in NFL history to beat all 32 teams, joining Peyton Manning and Brett Favre. During this game, Brees also became the 4th quarterback in NFL history, along with Manning, Favre, and Tom Brady, to reach 500 career touchdown passes when he threw a 1-yard touchdown pass to Benjamin Watson. In Week 10, a matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals, Brees passed Brett Favre for the 2nd in career passing touchdowns with a 17-yard pass to Michael Thomas in a 51-14 victory. Brees was named Offensive Player of the Month for his performance during the month of November. Brees finished the season with 364 completions, 489 attempts, 3,992 yards, 32 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions over 15 games. He sat out the season final after the Saints clinched the number 1 seed the week prior. He set an NFL record for completions. That's the NFL record, 74.4. Set it. Breaking his previous record, it was his 72%, set in 2017, and led the league in passer rating, a career high of 115.7. However, his 3,992 yards, his NFL streak of 12 consecutive seasons with 4,000 yards or more came to an end. He led the league. He led the league with 6 fourth-quarter comebacks and 7 game-winning drives. 7 game-winning drives. Yes, Drew Brees is my number 1 quarterback to look at next year. Drew Brees had the best season, in my opinion, last year. Tom Brady won the Super Bowl, but Drew Brees and Patrick Mahomes won the MVP, but Drew Brees was the best quarterback last year, numbers-wise, for me.
Yeah, I mean, and he's been around long enough. You can't just point out and be like, yeah, but that offensive line, the offensive line was great. I mean, that's what gave him the time to be accurate. But he's always been accurate.
Yes. I agree with that.
You know, I mean,
we talked about Nick Foles today, Drew. Go back and check it out. Go Seawolves, Brad. I like it. Go Seawolves. We have interviews with Kevin Flynn. Go check it out.
2 of them.
2 of them. Go on YouTube. Go on Game Changer Sports Network. Find our interviews with Kevin Flynn.
Yeah, they were super fun. Well, the one I did.
Both of them were super fun.
Both of them were super fun to watch. The one was super fun to talk to. Man, that guy is amazing.
But we're talking football right now.
Yeah. Anyway,
Drew, we did talk about Nick Foles. Go back and watch our video.
We did. He was my number 5.
So, yeah. Who's your number one?
My number one is Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck. I
Yeah,
like it.
2018, he had 430 completions out of 639 attempts. I, for some reason, didn't write down the percentage there. 7.2 yards per completion, 39 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 67.3 yards per completion, and he threw for 4,593 yards.
What a season for Andrew Luck to come back in.
Yeah, I mean, he came back from that just awful injury, and he came back.
He come back.
He came back in what I would just call spectacular fashion. Man, I really don't know what to say. I mean, you either watched it or you didn't.
I should have thrown Andrew Luck on my top 5 list, and I feel bad that I didn't because he had such a phenomenal season.
He really did.
But everybody else had great seasons too that were on my list also.
Yes, they did, but he was just, quietly there, with the Colts just plugging away. I mean, it wasn't, anything to really raise like a ton of eyebrows, but definitely enough to take notice of. And he was just game after game.
I almost wrote off Tom Brady off of my list just on the specific fact that Andrew Luck and Ben Roethlisberger had better numbers. But really, honestly, the only reason why Tom Brady even made the list for me is because of the Super Bowl win.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck had a better season.
He did. And let's be honest, I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. That Super Bowl one could have easily gone to Drew Brees.
I think so, too. Yeah.
And
I think if Drew Brees was in that game, that would have been a Drew Brees Super Bowl.
I do, too.
Yeah.
I do 100%.
Yep. Andrew Luck got shafted on my list, and he shouldn't have. But I love that you put him number one because I couldn't do it. I could not put him on my list just.
Well, I'm glad he couldn't make your top 5, but he made my number 1.
Yeah. It's great.
But like I said, earlier.
We made 2 separate lists.
Yeah.
So
we set out to do the same thing, but we ended up with
panning out differently.
Yeah, we both interpreted our idea 2 different ways.
So, yeah, Andrew Luck, man. I think he's going to have another great season.
I do too.
They need to make the playoffs this year, man. I don't see why they shouldn't.
Their
offensive line was so good.
Yeah.
Yo, tell me how many sacks this fucking guy had, man. Excuse me. Pardon my language. It was insane though. Like I'm really pumped about it. Andrew Luck.
Actually, quick side note. I did watch Goon last night, and then I watched Goon: Last of the Enforcers, and the sports show they had on totally reminded of this.
Why?
Because they're just like Sports Desk, where we know things.
I like it.
Sports Desk, we don't give a shit.
I like it. 2018 sacked. 18 times? 18 times.
Yeah, 18 times.
18 times. Crazy. So low.
Which is...
That's almost 1 a game.
Yeah, a little over, but yeah. And that's the lowest in his career.
That's the lowest in the season, too. No. He only
Or
got
in a
sacked
season,
15 in 2015.
Oh, okay. Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah, Andrew Luck. Man, wow. The guy's going to have a great season next year. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
They're going to make the playoffs next year. I believe it.
I hope so, man. And if they don't, it's not because of Andrew Luck. I'll sit here and guarantee you that.
Garen told you.
Yeah.
Garen told you. All right. So your number one's done. My number one's done. We've done a show for over an hour and a half for the first time in a long time. It's been a while. glad you guys stuck around for the end. Glad you guys watched it. I'm Nick.
I'm Eric.
And we're talking Interference Sports. Don't forget, go check out Kids App Connection. Don't forget to check out Talking Interference Sports on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram. Go check out Game Changer Sports Network, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Go to Tabby's Coffee if you're in Everett. Check out our my other podcast, that one show where they talk about things. Jeff's Basement, Jeff's Kitchen, Rotcasts, Comedy and Kidsap, and the podcast on YouTube. Go look at everything. Go check it out. Go support the network that we have in Kitsap County, that we're trying to get all of these other live streams and video makers some support and some love. We're working with some guys that are doing some really cool things in our local area. So go check that out. Give them some support.
Yeah, there's some really funny guys out there doing some pretty unique stuff.
Most definitely. So I don't got anything else. We'll see you guys next week. Looking forward to some football. Looking forward to some end of baseball, too. We didn't really talk any baseball this week, but we will. See you guys later.
Have a good week.
Be safe.